All right, we are live. Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel and our live Ask Lee video Q&A for Friday, March 13th. Friday the 13th. Always feels weird to do a video chat on Friday the 13th. But where we do these every Friday, it's bound to happen from time to time. We are going to have a Friday the 13th chat. So there we go. Friday the 13th it is. So as you're popping onto our live stream here today, please feel free to introduce yourself. And of course, let me know if this is coming through loud and clear on your end, that you can hear me and see me as you're popping onto our live stream. I would greatly appreciate it. Good stuff. All right, let's see. We've got Baby Boomer Fitness. Hey, how's it going? We've got Lee Dunnigan saying it is coming through loud and clear. Appreciate it. I just want to make sure. Early stream, Lee. Actually, no, it's not early because the times have changed. So this is the the right time for me. Now, I don't know, depending on where you live in the world, if the times haven't changed or if you're not practicing the whole daylight savings time, which I think is the biggest crock of you know what. But the times have changed. So yeah, you got to factor that in. So it is Eastern Daylight Savings Time is we're going live at 5, and that's just a pain in the ass. I still don't know why they practice that, the whole change in the clocks. Like, you know, it's like the analogy, like, okay, I'm going to cut an inch off the straight off one end of the rope and tie it onto the other end of the rope and make a longer rope. Like, you know, you can't make a day longer by switching the clocks. It is what it is. The sun rises, the sun sets. You can't screw around with it, but, well, you can screw around with it, but it doesn't change anything. Anyway, that's why we have an early video chat for some people, is because the times have changed. There we go. Anyway, it is what it is. Who else we have joining in here? We've got Robert joining in, ready for more info, loud and clear. Awesome. Glad to have you joining us, Robert. And he's a regular to our video chats as well. All right, seeing some people popping on and some questions coming through. So for those of you who are regulars, you understand how this works. I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour answering questions and topics of discussion related to fitness and nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, getting in your best shape, anything along those lines, health, fitness, and nutrition related. Type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat. And for those of you who aren't new to the channel, and I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have new people joining in, and anybody's welcome to participate. So if you have a question, it doesn't matter if you think it's a stupid question, go ahead and post it in there anyway. Nobody's going to criticize you for posting a so-called stupid question, because if you've got a legit question, fitness and nutrition related, chances are somebody else out there may have a similar question, and by posting it there, you could be helping yourself and also helping others in the process. So feel free to go ahead and post any questions or topics of discussion that you have, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out. Now, I've been doing this for 30 plus years, so I've learned a few things along the way, but I don't claim to be a know-it-all. So if I feel that I can't answer your question or it's outside my area of experience, I'll let you know, right? I'm not going to pretend to be a know-it-all and blow smoke up your pipe or whatever. But if I can help you, I'll certainly do so. And if not, then I'll try and point you in the right direction to somebody who can help you, or some resources that may be able to help you. All right. So with that being said, let's dive in. We've got Adil joining us. Says, I always look forward to the Q&A. Awesome. Glad to have you joining in as well. And Adil posts some good questions on these Q&A, and I'm sure he's got a few there that he's going to post there today on our live stream as well. So as you may notice, we're streaming from Facebook as well as YouTube. So wherever you're tuning in from, be it Facebook or YouTube, you're certainly welcome to participate. On YouTube, there's going to be a chat window, a live chat window to the side of this video. On Facebook, you can just post your comments in the comment section below, and it's all going to come through on my end. So I'll be able to see them and address them right here. All right, let's see. Just seen one pop through there. I just want to jump into this one because it's a good one. What are your views on greasing the groove training? I love this concept, this whole idea of greasing the groove. And for those of you who are wondering what the heck am I talking about, right? This isn't, you're not out in the garage, lubing up a chain or doing something, greasing bearings in a car. Greasing the groove means doing short, frequent mini workouts or mini exercises, if you will, to get better at doing those exercises. So I'll give you an example of it. Let's say you want to get better at doing pull-ups. A great way to get better at pull-ups is to set up a pull-up bar at home, whether it's like a doorway pull-up bar or if you've got a home gym with a pull-up bar or whatever. But throughout the day, just do a little mini set of pull-ups. So like first thing in the morning, just grab the pull-up bar and bang out a set of pull-ups. Maybe midday, grab the pull-up bar, do a set of pull-ups. Later in the afternoon, grab the pull-up bar, do a set of pull-ups. And just little mini exercise throughout the day. Not a full-on workout. It's just a little tiny bit of stimulation. It's just practicing that movement pattern and greasing the groove, getting used to that movement pattern, building strength through repetition and frequency, but it's improving your technique as well. And this is something that I've used a lot. Like back in the day, that was one that I used to do. I wanted to really prioritize pull-ups, and I set up a pull-up bar down in my basement, and every morning I would go down and just do a single set of pull-ups. That was it, right? In addition to my gym workout. So this was just a little add-on, a little extra, but I wouldn't count like a single set of pull-ups as a full-on workout, but it was just a little tiny bit extra. And over the course of a week, I mean, that added up. So like, let's just say I did 10 pull-ups every morning, which is what I strive to do over the course of the week. That's 70 pull-ups on top of my regular gym workouts. And over time, that volume, that frequency, and that consistency compounds and can make a noticeable difference, right? You could do it for any exercise, ideally, that you can do at home with minimal equipment or with the equipment you have available. I mean, if you have a full-on home gym, you pretty much can do whatever you want here. But it's good for just pick one particular move and just focus on doing that over and over again. It could be push-ups, right? Like that's another great one, especially if someone wants to improve their chest development. Hit the floor, bang out a set of push-ups, and just do that a couple times a day. And the thing is you want to pace yourself. This isn't about going crazy and doing a full-on workout. It's just greasing the groove. It's just doing a little, like a single set of an exercise and doing that frequently. And I find that this is a great way to bring up stubborn body parts to help improve exercise technique, become more efficient. And this is something that I like to do myself. I recommend it to my coaching students. And I think it's just a fantastic way to take your training up a notch. So the only thing I would caution on it is when people hear about this, they're saying, well, I'd like to get better at pull-ups, and I like to get better at push-ups, and I like to get better at squats and biceps and rows and blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, they're doing a full-on workout and thinking that they're greasing the groove. Limit it to ideally just one exercise that you're going to prioritize in a block, but maybe a couple at most. Like I wouldn't go doing like a full-on workout because that's going to lead to overtraining and burnout. It's something that you want to be able to add into your training and get some stimulation from it without being so much that it causes the negative effects of overtraining and burnout and repetitive movement pattern strain and all that kind of stuff. So that's the idea behind it. And again, I love that concept and I use it myself. All right, let's see what else we got there. Do you have tips for hitting a 405 squat? My personal best is 365. Should you squat twice a week? I'm going to start doing pause squats. There's a lot of strategies to improve the squat and to improve any lift for that matter. The best thing to do, I mean, ideally if you were like a coaching student of mine and we were working together, I would see like what it is you're currently doing and see where we can focus on improving it. I'd focus on looking at your squat technique for one. That's the single best thing that you can do to improve strength in a lift is usually optimizing your technique. But let's assume you have perfect technique and your squat is fine that way. How can you go about increasing it? There's different strategies for this. One strategy that I found works really well, and something that I do with a lot of my coaching students who are more advanced and trying to improve exercises like the squat and the bench and stuff like that, is I use the style of training that I learned from Westside Barbell. And one of the key exercises is the box squat. And if you're not familiar with box squats, it's a great exercise that really helps to teach you how to squat properly. And it's one that can help to build a lot of explosive strength. And the key with doing the box squat is you do multiple sets of low reps. So one of my coaching students that I'm working with now, we do this once a week. And when we're doing the box squats, we do 10 sets of 2 reps on a box. And we usually squatting to parallel. That's what we're focusing on with the box squat. And the idea is you're using sub-maximal weight. So probably about 60-ish% of your 1 rep max, somewhere around there, and focus on just doing multiple sets, 2 reps, and being as explosive and powerful with the weight as possible. So when you squat down, you're powering up out of the bottom with maximum explosiveness, maximum force with sub-maximal weight. So you're using it as a power move, even though you're not lifting super heavy weight. And this helps to recruit more fast twitch muscle fibers. It helps you to do better form, better technique, and really fire those fast twitch muscle fibers that are responsible for powering up out of the squat. And the idea is to do multiple sets. So again, 10 sets of 2 reps, and just focusing on, this isn't repping to failure or anything like that. This is literally greasing the groove, as we talked about before, because you're getting that repetition. You're setting up and you're doing that first rep over and over and over again. You're practicing racking and re-racking the weight, and you're really drilling in the technique of setting up under the barbell, walking out with the barbell, banging out an explosive set, racking it, and then doing it again and again and again. And this is one of the best exercises I found for bringing up the squat. Another one that I like to use as well is power rack lockouts, where you would set in the top quarter range of motion, set the bar on the safety pins, and basically do a lockout squat with more than your 1 rep max. So in this case, if you're currently doing a full ass to the grass squat with 365, you should certainly be able to use 405 plus in a power rack lockout, and probably even significantly heavier. But for your first workout, probably just start with 405, warm-up sets not included here. I mean, obviously do warm-up sets to build up to that, and power rack lockouts. And I actually have some videos on YouTube. If you just do a search for Lee Hayward power rack lockout squats, you should find it. And I'm sure there's a gazillion other YouTubers showing how to do box squats and squat lockouts. I've got some of my older videos. I do demonstrate these exercises. So again, if you did a search for like Lee Hayward box squat, Lee Hayward power rack squat lockout, those are up all on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Like they're old videos that are probably, literally, some of them are 20 years old, right? Because this was back in, the mid 2000s when I was really prioritizing and training for powerlifting and doing these exercises, but they still work just as well today as they did back then. So you can go check out some of those videos. But those are 2 things that I would prioritize: the box squat and the power rack lockout. And I think the combination of that will help you to set some new PRs in the squat for sure. All right, what else we got there? Let's see. We have Perry saying, "Hello, Lee. I sometimes log RIR, which I believe is reps in reserve, and it seems inconsistent. A weight that feels like 5 reps in reserve last workout feels like 2 today. How do you know what counts as true progress?" First off, your strength and energy levels are going to fluctuate. I mean, generally speaking, over time, you are going to get stronger. You're going to be able to lift more, get more reps, perform more workload. But there's going to be days where you're just tired, days where you're either physically tired, maybe you're a bit sore, who knows? But it's not like every day is just going to be linear progress straight up. It's going to be up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like watching the stock market. It's going to be fluctuations. There's going to be peaks and valleys, highs and lows. But where is the trend heading over time? Is the trend heading upwards? If it is, you're on the right track. If the trend is kind of flatline, then some things need to change. And if the trend is heading down, then things definitely need to change. But don't take it too personal. If like you go into the gym and you feel really strong one day, and then the next day you go in and it's like, man, I don't have the same strength. I don't feel as strong. I don't have as much energy. That's normal. And that happens to everybody, like even outside the gym. Like I'm sure there's some days you wake up in the morning and you can jump out of bed and say, man, I got energy to burn. I feel really good. Had a good night's sleep. Boom, ready to tackle the day. And then there's other days it's just like, I want to hit the snooze button and just roll over, and I don't even want to get out of bed today. Like your energy levels are going to fluctuate. Some days you got high energy, some days you got low energy. You go into the gym, some days you're going to feel strong, some days you're going to feel weak, and everything in between. So don't take it personal. Just realize it's part of the process, right? You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and a lot of in-between days. But where is the trend heading? So if you're logging things, which is good, I wouldn't log reps in reserve personally. I would log what you actually did, not what you think you could have done or what you think you've left in the tank, because that's a very subjective number. But what you actually did, like, hey, I squat 200 pounds for 5 reps. Like, okay, that's concrete. You actually did that. Saying I squat 200 pounds for 5 reps, but I think I could have done 5 more. Like, I think I had 5 reps in reserve. Like, that's subjective, because how do you know how many reps you have in reserve? Like, it's just a guess, an educated guess at best. I would track what you actually do, not what you think you have left in the tank. So that's how I would go about tracking the workouts. That's how I track my coaching students' workouts, and look at that. Look at those numbers. Or what you're actually doing, is that going up over time? And if you're seeing progress there, then you're on the right track, even though there's going to be ups and downs along the way. Excuse me. All right, what else we got there? Let's see. How do you structure your training if you want to include smelling salts but avoid tolerance? Like which lifts you'd use them on, how often, whether to cycle them on heavy, light days, etc. Blah blah. I have never used smelling salts. I know what they are. I know the idea behind them, and I've seen like powerlifters and strongman and Olympic lifters, and usually when they're doing a max out or in a competition setting. Honestly, for training, I would not use it at all. Unless you're planning on using it in competition, right? And then obviously you would have to practice with it in training. But for 99.9% of people who work out, like, you don't need smelling salts. Like, you don't need to be at that extreme heightened level of awareness. Like, just your normal, like, get to the gym and your regular awareness that you can muster up on your own without the aid of smelling salts will be plenty. Right. Again, I've never used them. I mean, I've competed in powerlifting. I've been training for like a long time, like literally since the late 80s. I started dabbling in the weight training world and bit by the iron bug, and I have never used smelling salts. So I'm not the best person to address it, but I'm just, from a practical point of view, man, I wouldn't use them. I mean, I never have, and I've never ever recommended them to a coaching student. But if you are using them, this is something that you would say for like the max effort or competition. But for just regular day-to-day training, no, I wouldn't use it. Definitely not. Let's see what else we got there. A deal saying, is it normal to lose the hunger and passion for serious lifting as we get older and our gains come to a halt? That's a good question, and I think it is to a degree, and it depends on where you're at in your journey, right? And I'm going to give you some examples to elaborate on this. if you've been training since you were younger, like in my case, for example, like I started working out when I was 12 years old. So I went through my entire teenage years working out, went through my 20s and my 30s. And through that whole phase from the teenage years to my 20s and my early 30s, it was pretty much a linear journey, like getting stronger, seeing progress, up, like getting better in terms of a bodybuilding physique and with my power and strength training and all that. Like I was seeing everything going up. Now it wasn't linear. There was ups and downs along the way, but the trend was going up right throughout your teens, especially in the teenage years. Like a teenager is going to grow anyway. Like if you go to any teenager, regardless if they lift weights or not, you look at how big and strong they are at 13 and how big and strong they are at 19. Everybody gets bigger and stronger, assuming they don't have health problems and everything else. But like in a normal puberty adolescence phase, every teenager is going to get bigger and stronger through their teenage years, regardless if they exercise, regardless if they follow a nutrition plan or not. It's just the body's natural growth process. Now, if you combine that with strength training and proper nutrition, you can make crazy gains. And I remember I made some crazy gains throughout my teenage years. At the time, I didn't appreciate it. I kind of took it all for granted, right? Because I still didn't think the gains were coming fast enough. But that's just the reality. Kids are always impatient. And I've seen that linear progress. As I've gotten older, now I'm in my late 40s. I mean, I'm not as strong as I used to be. I'm not as big as I used to be. Like the gains aren't there anymore. So when you're not seeing the personal bests and you know that it's unlikely that I will ever get back to that, you can sometimes lose the passion and the hunger to a certain degree. Now, other people who started their fitness journey later in life are still going through that newbie phase just as an older individual. Like I'll give you an example. One of my coaching students, Mike Brown, for example, he started working out at age 56. And now in his early 60s, he's loving it. And he's competing in bodybuilding competitions now. He's in the best shape of his life in his 60s, like even better than he was when he was in his 30s. So he's experiencing that rush of excitement of seeing his body progress and get bigger and stronger and fitter in later in life. And that's really cool to see. So it depends on when you started your fitness journey, because everybody's going to make their best progress early on in the journey. But after a while, you're going to kind of hit your peak, and then it's going to start to plateau. And then eventually it's even going to start to regress, right? That's just the natural growth cycle. Like things just don't constantly go up forever. So if you're in that phase where it's starting to regress, if you will, you can start to lose the hunger and the passion. But this is where you can kind of change your approach. And that's what I've done, because I know like I've started to lose the hunger and the passion for bodybuilding and powerlifting. I mean, I still appreciate it and I still go to the gym. Don't get me wrong, right? But I'm not competing in bodybuilding anymore. I'm not competing in powerlifting. And quite honestly, I just don't want to do that anymore. Like I did it for 15 years, right, as a competitive bodybuilder. But now I've gotten into competitive cycling. And that's like renewed passion. It's something that's new for me, and I'm making progress with it. So I'm still seeing gains. I'm still seeing my stamina, my VO2 max, my power on the bike and stuff like that. I'm seeing that go up. And that's something that's exciting. So I've kind of took the passion that I had for bodybuilding and powerlifting, and I've just transitioned it to another sport instead. And you can kind of keep the momentum moving forward just in a different activity. So that's what I've done. I know some of my other coaching students have done that in different sports and activities as well. So it doesn't always have to be bodybuilding, powerlifting. Like you can take your fitness outside the gym into other avenues, and that can help to keep the passion alive, if you will. So that's what I've done myself. But what you're talking about there, it's certainly, I don't know if it's normal, but it's not uncommon, put it that way. And it could be normal depending on where you are in your fitness journey and your personal situation. But if someone started young and hit their peak, say in their like 30s, and now they're in their 40s, 50s or beyond, yeah, it's inevitable. Like you're not going to be operating on the same level that you once did. And we see this in every sport. I mean, that's why like professional athletes, they usually retire in their 30s in most sports. I mean, some can stick with it a bit longer, but like you're not going to see, pro hockey players and pro basketball players in their 50s and 60s or, stuff like that. It's just not going to happen, right? People decline as they get older, right? What else we got there? Deal's got another question. Do you think body fat percentage is a better indicator of health than BMI, as someone can technically be skinny, fat, and unhealthy? Yeah, absolutely. Body composition, body fat percentage, much better indicator. I mean, I understand where the whole BMI comes from, and there is some truth to the BMI as well, because like even if someone is lean and muscular, like a bodybuilder, lean and muscular, if they're big, as in like 300 pounds plus, that still places a lot of stress on the body, a lot of stress on the organs, a lot of stress on the heart, even though they're lean, right? So they're obese with muscle, if you will, but that extra weight is still placing a lot of stress on the body. But I if you're looking at like in my situation, all right, right now I'm around 195 pounds. I fluctuate between like 195 to 200. That's kind of like my range, depending on depending on my meals, fluid intake, and bowel movements. I'm between 195 and 200. All right. I'm 5'6" tall. So on a BMI chart, I am overweight or maybe even in the obese category. I'd have to double check, but I know I'm definitely in the overweight category, right? Based on my height to weight ratio. But based on my body fat percentage, I'm in the lean healthy range. So the BMI chart, it can be a bit misleading for people who are active and have more muscle on their frame than the average person. But it still has some valid input, because you can be overweight with muscle and still not necessarily be healthy, like still have the excess strain on the heart, still have breathing problems. Like a lot of people who are big, like bodybuilders, football players, strongman competitors, like a lot of these guys, they have to wear like CPAP machines when they sleep because they can't get enough oxygen in. Like all that mass is restricting their airways, right? It places excess strain on the body, the organs, the heart, like I mentioned. And if you follow fitness online, especially like social media fitness influencers and stuff like that, I bet you see popping up in your social media feed on a regular basis, like, oh, such and such, a bodybuilder or athlete died at the age of 40, heart attack. I mean, it's sad to see, but I like that's literally pops up in my feed at least once a week. Somebody, bodybuilder, athlete, someone, whatever, passing away from heart issues, right, in their 40s or somewhere around there. Right. So I mean, that extra weight, even though it's lean weight, still places excess strain on the body. So we want to focus on taking care of your health overall, right? I mean, there's a lot more to it than just body fat percentage and body weight, but still those two can certainly play a role. But again, to address your question directly, what is better overall as an indicator? I think both, but body fat percentage, I would put more emphasis in, especially for recreational athletes, right? Let's see what else we got. Jeff joining in saying, been going to gym, clothes feel looser, but scale going up. Is that good or bad? If your clothes is feeling looser, that's usually a good sign, especially if it's your pants, right? Like if you can tighten up your belt another notch, your pants are feeling looser, that means your waistline is getting smaller. And if your waistline is getting smaller, then you are getting leaner, because excess mass around the midsection is usually excess body fat. As you lose body fat, you're going to see the midsection shrink down. That's a good sign, right? If the scale is going up a bit, that could be gaining lean muscle. So, I mean, you could literally be going through what's known as a body recomposition, where you're gaining lean mass and losing body fat, right? And this is why it's important when you're tracking your progress to have multiple forms of measurement. So it's not just the scale. Like a lot of people, especially people who are new to fitness and nutrition, and they just want to lose weight. They just look at the scale, and if the scale is going down, they feel good. If the scale is staying the same or going up, they feel bad, right? And they're not looking at any other measurement point other than the scale. But we got to look at everything. And what I mean by that is your strength, your energy, how do you feel, your measurements, right? Like all these things can come into play. Your body fat percentage, right? Like you can get body fat testers now that are, a lot of scales have body fat testers, and you can get the caliper testers and stuff, but like tracking that as well. So measurements, body fat, strength, energy, how you're feeling, even stuff is like your cardiovascular fitness, like your VO2 max, your excuse me, your heart rate, resting heart rate, all these kind of things, like blood pressure, like all these measurements can be tracked and monitored, and you can see, like, are you seeing progress? Not just am I getting heavier or lighter? Like, because I've seen it with my own coaching students where like sometimes the scale may stay the same, or in some cases even go up a little bit as they're losing body fat. This is especially true when someone's new to fitness, or probably coming back after a layoff, and they're eating better, eating more protein, eating more consistent meals, sleeping better, eliminating alcohol and junk food and things like that. And they could literally start gaining lean muscle while trimming off body fat, getting stronger, getting healthier, and seeing all these positive changes. But the scale could actually be staying the same, or in some cases even going up. Right. So we need to look at the bigger picture and not just getting frustrated by, oh, the scale, right? Am I heavier or am I lighter? That's a rookie mistake, because I've seen it in some cases where people are going to the gym, they're eating better, they're making all these positive changes, but if the scale's not changing the way they think it should, they say, oh, this sucks, this whole diet and exercise crap, this doesn't work, I quit. Right? And then they throw in the towel and say, oh, I tried that diet and exercise and it didn't work for me. It's because they didn't understand the full picture of what's going on, and they didn't have an accurate way to measure their real progress. I mean, they could have very well been making fantastic progress, but it didn't show on the scale weight, but it showed in their body composition and in their health markers. But yeah, that's a great question for sure. All right, who else we got joining in? Hi. Cav PF, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you joining us. We've got Alex joining in. Just finished his leg day. Legs on Friday. Good job. Right. Alex is a member of our Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. Him and his twin brother, Andy. Right. That's a pretty cool story. Like Andy was referred to the program by his friend Bruce, who went through it. And Bruce made a great transformation, referred his friend Andy. And then Andy went through it, made a great transformation, and referred his brother, Alex. So it's the progressional effect. One person's getting in shape, inspiring another person, who's inspiring another person. And then in turn, now I'm sure Alex is going to be inspiring his friends and family. And it's just going to create that win-win positive momentum all around. Where else are we to there? Another question. I notice most serious bodybuilders rely primarily on machines nowadays. Would you say the risk to reward ratio is best on machines for physique optimization? This is an interesting thing, and I know exactly what you mean, because generally when you are watching videos, a lot of top-level bodybuilders do use machines, and we have nowadays machines have come a long way. Like we have so many machines today that didn't exist even 20 years ago. Like, I mean, it's just improving exponentially. And I mean, you're just seeing the latest and greatest machines, and some of them are very good. They're very good at isolating the muscle groups. They're smooth, they're safe. Like you can push yourself to failure relatively safely without risk of getting pinned under a heavy weight, or without risking like getting out of the groove and pulling or tearing something. Because with a machine exercise, like you're pushing or pulling against resistance that's on a guided track, and a lot of them nowadays are very ergonomically designed so that they really isolate the muscle that you're trying to work. So you're getting that strict form, that strict muscle isolation, and you're able to push yourself hard without the risk of getting pinned or getting injured. Because like when you're dealing with free weights, like on racking a bench press, on racking a squat and stuff like that, on racking, shoulder presses and whatever. It's, yes, I mean, they're great exercise. Yes, they engage the stabilizer muscles and that, but the risk of injury is really high, especially when you're pushing the limits. Because how often, I mean, everybody probably has been at one time or another stapled to the bench with a barbell across their chest, yelling for help, right? And the risk of injury is a lot greater with free weights when you're pushing yourself. And nowadays, injury prevention is one of the key things. So you will see a lot of pro bodybuilders using machines more. Another thing we got to factor in too is when you see most pro bodybuilders posting training videos, that's usually around competition, when they're lean, when they're in shape, like in the weeks before, or maybe right after a competition. That's when a lot of their content is done. Like that's when they'll do their photo shoots. That's when they'll do their training videos. So they're posting a lot of this content right around when they're at their peak, when they're at their leanest, when they look their best, and they're probably using machine exercises at that phase because the training is safer. There's less risk of injury. And that's what they're doing at that stage of the game. But when they're heavier in the off season, they probably do incorporate more free weight exercises. Like this is what I used to do. Like when I was competing in bodybuilding in the off season, like I was doing both. I was doing powerlifting and bodybuilding, and I kind of paired them opposite one another. So my in-season bodybuilding was off-season powerlifting, and off-season bodybuilding was in-season powerlifting. You know what I mean? So like when I was bulked up in off-season bodybuilding, that's when I was at my strongest. That's when I was pushing myself in a power training mode. When I was dieted down for bodybuilding, I wasn't lifting heavy weights. I wasn't doing heavy benches and squats and free weight moves. I was doing more machine exercises. So when you're seeing pro bodybuilders train, a lot of them are doing it right in that pre-contest phase. So that's probably why you're seeing more machine exercises there as well. But I'd be willing to bet that a lot of those guys still built their foundation using free weight exercises, but they're probably not showing it as much, because when they're doing that big free weight stuff is when they're bulked up, they're heavier. They don't have the same level of muscle definition and detail, so it doesn't look as impressive. They just look fat and bloated, right? Whereas when they're in contest shape, they look lean and ripped and shredded. So, it's more visually appealing that way, and that's probably why you're seeing it. But again, it's as far as what's best for physique optimization, there's pros and cons to both, right? Like it's not a one size fits all or either or. It depends on what phase you're at, right? You can build a lot of mass with the free weight exercises, and they do have a higher level of neuromuscular stimulation, because you have to balance and stabilize the weight. The fact that there is a higher risk of injury actually makes your body heightens the level of awareness and helps to create more stimulation all over. But again, the machines, the fact that they're safer and you can push yourself to failure momentarily with less risk of injury, that has an advantage as well. So it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, if you will. Right? Most bodybuilders today will use a combination of both, right? But again, when you're seeing them in contest shape, they're probably doing mostly machine exercises, especially for their photo shoots and stuff like that, or for their social media content videos. What else we got there, guys? I feel like it's easier to progress in the lower rep range, 5 to 8 most of the time, and the higher end, 10 to 15, is more difficult to progress from week to week. Your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from there. From a strength point of view, when you are using lower reps, you're going to be able to handle more weight with those lower reps. When you're doing higher reps, you're getting more into the muscular endurance and the fatigue. And yeah, it's going to be harder to make strength gains and lift heavier weights with the higher reps. That's pretty universal across the board for everyone. It's not that it's right or wrong, good or bad. It's just, that's just the way it is. Now, what you will find though, is some people prefer rep ranges over others. Like some people do like the lower rep ranges. They find like, that works really well. That's their sweet spot. And other people find that a higher rep range works really well. And then some people are somewhere in the middle, right? And that's normal, right? Now, I mean, you can still switch up the rep ranges and stimulate unique muscle stimulation, but if you find that the lower rep range works well for you, you enjoy it, you're seeing progress with it, like you can kind of have that as your base, if you will. And vice versa, if you find that the higher rep range works well, you can have that as your base, but you can still from time to time change it up. The way I like to go about it is for big compound lifts, I usually keep the reps low. So again, like you're saying, like 5 to 8 reps, that would be ideal for big, heavy compound lifts. For isolation exercises, 10 plus repetitions would be a better number to shoot for. And again, it depends on the exercise, the movement, and what it is that you're training for. Again, if you're training for power, are you training for endurance? Are you training for, like a bodybuilding competition? What is it you're training for, right? Like that's going to have a big impact on the number of reps you do as well. But what you're talking about there, it's easier to see strength gains in the lower rep range. Absolutely. That's pretty much normal for everyone. Did I miss any there? I'm not sure if I did or not. No, I don't think so. Oh, wait, no, I might have. Let's see. Is lifting intensity more important than factors like number of training sessions and volume per week, or is it all equally important? I think it all plays a role because first off, I would say consistency is more important than intensity. Because yeah, if you go in there and you crush a hardcore workout, but you're not consistent, then you're not going to see the results. Like let's just say someone goes in like one day they go in there and they just crush a hardcore heavy workout, and then they're so sore that they can't work out for a few days afterwards, or they just dread the workout and they're like, oh man, that workout was so hard, I don't want to do that again. And it takes them another week or so before they get into the gym again. Well, that kind of training, even though it's high intensity, the fact that it's not consistent is not going to produce optimal results. I'd much rather see someone do a moderate workout, or even an easy workout for that matter, but do that workout consistently, because the consistency is going to compound. It's going to lead to better results over time. But all the factors play a role, like the intensity, the consistency, the volume. I mean, all that stuff is going to play a role. And ideally, we want to see progression in those areas, like hopefully be able to generate more intensity, i.e. like lifting more weight, or generate more volume, increasing your workload and your work capacity, being more consistent. Now, obviously, the volume and the consistency is going to hit a cap. There's going to be a certain level. Like once you're working out 5 or 6 days a week, like, okay, you can't really be much more consistent than that, because you still have to allow rest and recovery to happen there. But the intensity side of things, like that can continue to improve, right? So once you have the consistency, the base laid, the foundation, then you can focus on increasing the intensity side of things, meaning increasing the weight and the workload that you're completing for each workout. But the first thing that I would lay the foundation with is getting the consistency and getting that volume and consistency in first, and then building the intensity on top of that. It's almost like visualize it like a pyramid. Like the foundation of the pyramid, that base, that's your consistency, right? Get that in there first. Once you have the base laid, you're consistent with the workouts, you're showing up. It's none of this on and off again, right? I got some of my coaching, some people who signed up for coaching with me, like in the gym, one-on-one personal training. And it's hit or miss. Like, they originally signed on, okay, we're going to do a 3-day per week workout schedule, right? Say like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I text message them to confirm, hey, we're going to show up at the gym today. We just want to confirm that you're good to go. No, I don't feel like going today. Maybe we'll do it next week instead. Right. And then next week rolls around. No, I don't think, I'm extra busy, I'm a bit tired. Maybe we'll do it next week. And they're always like, I'll start again next Monday. And it always rolls around. Like if there's no consistency, it doesn't matter. Like nothing else is going to matter if you don't have the consistency. Right. So get that in there first, like show up, get your ass in the gym consistently. Once that's there, then we can worry about the volume and the intensity and all that stuff. But the consistency is the number one variable that needs to be in place first. If you're looking for what's the most important one, That's it right there. The consistency over everything else. All right, let's see what else we got. We have Jason joining in. He says, yeah, in your experience, what level of calorie surplus actually maximizes hypertrophy without pushing unnecessary fat gain? Great question. I like to focus on fueling for your activity level. So I don't recommend trying to force a calorie surplus. I used to back in the day. I tried forcing it. And in the short term, it does work, right? Like you will see fast gains quickly, but it quickly plateaus to the point where whatever lean mass you're gaining is going to quickly spill over to body fat. And the thing is you're putting on weight, even though a good chunk of that weight is excess fat, but you're getting bigger, you're feeling bigger, and even having some extra pudge on can actually help you in certain lifts. Like I'll give you a prime example. Uh, Having a bigger belly is going to help you squat more. Having a bigger belly is going to help you to bench press more. Like you look at some world record bench pressers or world record squatters or world's strongest man competitors and stuff like that. Like a lot of them, now there's some exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, a lot of them have big bellies. And that extra mass in the torso, even if it's some pudge, some extra body fat there, that just creates this big solid base that helps to stabilize their core. So when they're squatting, I mean, that belly can actually like compress against their thighs and help them to rebound out of the bottom. When you got all that extra mass in your torso, when you're doing a bench press, that helps you to rebound out of the bottom. And it also shortens the range of motion a bit too. So it gives you better leverages. So having extra mass from a strength and power point of view can be advantageous to a certain point. But if you're looking for like lean gains, like athletic gains, I wouldn't recommend forcing a calorie surplus. I would recommend just eating enough to fuel your workouts, like have your dietary intake match your energy expenditure and let your body grow versus trying to force it to grow. So the bottom line is you don't want to be in a deficit, right? You want to be at maintenance or a very slight surplus, maybe like a 10% surplus. Like that would be plenty. I wouldn't recommend going above a 10% surplus. So like just throw some numbers out. Like let's just say your basal metabolic rate or your maintenance calories is 2,500. Well, bump it up by 250. So like let's say go 2750 to 2750, right? Bump it up by 10% and see how your body responds. Right? That should be more than enough to fuel the workouts and not leave you feeling hungry or deprived. Give you a little tiny bit of a surplus so you got the buffer room to grow from, but not so much that's going to spill over into excess body fat. And this is the problem is when people go on this, I'm on a bulk, right? So my maintenance calories is 2,500, but I'm going to slam back 3,500, thinking that I'm going to pack on 2 pounds a week and it's going to be 2 pounds of lean mass. Well, yeah, a little bit of it's going to be lean mass, and then the rest of it's going to be just excess body fat. And you're just going to start piling on pound after pound of fat, and you're just going to look like the Michelin man, right? You're just going to be sloppy fat. It'd be much better to make slower gains. And not only is it healthier, and then you won't have to go through this whole yo-yo bulk cut cycle, right? You can just make slow, steady gains and have the majority of those gains be lean gains, right? Good quality gains. It'll be a lot healthier. You'll feel better and you'll save money as well. I mean, heck, food is not cheap anymore. Well, now I suppose it never was, but it's becoming more and more apparent. So if you're just eating excess calories for the sake of excess calories, right? I mean, you could scale back on that a little bit and make better food choices and better portion control, right? And save some money in the process. So if you're looking for the ideal calorie surplus, I would say 10% above maintenance would be the max. There would be really no need to go above that. And a good guideline to use as a check and balance, like if you're gaining a pound per week, that would be the max. In fact, even less than that. Like if you're gaining a pound every 2 to 3 weeks, that's still good progress, right? like over the course of a month, if you put on 2 to 3 pounds over a course of a month, that's really good progress from a lean gain perspective. If you're putting on 5 or more pounds in a month, then a lot of that's going to be excess body fat. So I would much rather see the slower, steadier gains versus the big jumps in weight, because the big jumps in weight is usually going to be mostly excess body fat. Right? And I'm speaking from experience because I've done that in the past where I've forced the weight gain. Yeah, I mean, it works. You pack on a lot of mass. I mean, I've gotten up to 240 at my heaviest, but it wasn't it wasn't a quality 240, put it that way. Right? It was more like the Michelin Man 240. All right, what else we got there? Is soy chunks a good source of protein? Asking as a vegetarian. Um, Soy chunks. I'm not really familiar with soy chunks. I mean, I don't know. Do you mean like tofu or? I'd have to Google search it because I don't have any soy chunks out in the kitchen. I'll just say that. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about this, but soy protein in general. I'll just talk about soy protein, okay? Because it gets a mixed reviews. Like some people are very anti-soy, saying like, "Oh, if you eat soy, it's going to cause hormone imbalances and all this kind of stuff." But from a practical point of view, like soy is a complete protein source, right? I mean, it does cover your needs. And even when I was younger, I used to supplement with soy protein back in the 90s when I started working out. Like there was when I started working out, then there was no local supplement stores. Like there was no GNC or supplement stores. You couldn't go into like Walmart, or there was no Amazon or anywhere where you could order protein powder and have it readily available. But we did have a health food store downtown, and they did carry soy protein. That was the only protein that they had available. So that's what I used when I started working out back in the late 80s, early 90s, that range. I was using soy protein, and it was just like an unflavored soy protein concentrate. That's what it was. And that was my protein powder of choice. And I mean, I used that for years in my early days of training. And I mean, it was a it helped me to supplement my protein intake, right? So I mean, I can't say it had any negative impacts. I mean, I certainly made some great gains early on, and that was my protein powder of choice. Now I still had solid food protein. I mean, I wasn't a vegetarian, so I was eating meat, fish, eggs, dairy, and that, but I was also supplementing with soy protein at the time. So I think you can certainly make it work. Now, from a practical point of view, I'm not a huge fan of soy protein anymore because I find I don't like the taste of it. I never did like the taste of it, but I used to just like chug it down because I wanted to get the protein in me. It wasn't drinking it for taste or for pleasure. It was just drinking it from, hey, I need extra protein, so I'm gonna like plug my nose and chug this shit down, get it in you. That was the attitude I had behind it, but I did use it for years. Nowadays, protein powders are a lot more, they mix better, they taste better. You can actually enjoy your protein powder. And the one that I use personally is a whey protein isolate. That's my personal favorite, not only from a mixing and taste and flavor, but also from the just a good quality protein source. But you know, I, as a vegetarian, I mean, obviously you're limited with your protein sources. So yeah, do what you can do. I mean, and soy protein is certainly a good one. Now, when you say vegetarian, does that mean you're willing to eat eggs and dairy? Because if you are, you can have very complete sources of protein. Like you can have whey protein, you can have cottage cheese and Greek yogurt, you can have eggs and egg whites, milk. Like if you're adding those along with your plant-based diet along with that, you could easily cover your protein intake needs there. Where it gets really tricky is when you go vegan and there's no animal sources of protein whatsoever. Because honestly, I mean, even for people who eat a mixed diet, it's hard to eat enough protein. Like I see this with my coaching students all the time. Even guys, like they eat meat, they eat chicken, they eat fish. And I say, okay, I want you to eat, let's just give them a target. Say, I want you to have at least 200 grams of protein every day. And like, shit, 200 grams of protein is hard, right? Even though they're eating meat, chicken, fish, eggs, dairy, all that, they're still having a hard time hitting their 200 grams of protein. If you're a vegan, it's going to be really freaking hard to eat that much protein, right? Because you're so limited. Vegetarian, not so much. I mean, you have a bit more flexibility. So, I mean, you should still be able to make it work. But it's not just going to happen by accident. Like, you're going to have to purposely plan your diet and prioritize protein with every single meal in order to meet your protein intake needs. But it can still be done. Right? Let's see what else we got there. Would you recommend a Bowflex for those days where you need a quick workout? A Bowflex is actually a solid piece of equipment. I mean, I have used a Bowflex before. I remember a friend of mine ordered a Bowflex back in the day, and he had it set up in his spare room, and it's a good machine. We even had one at one of the gyms that I used to train at. The owner had a Bowflex and he brought it into the gym, so we used to use it for some exercises there. And the power rod resistance feels a lot like with the pulleys and stuff, feels a lot like the cable resistance. In fact, it's kind of like a hybrid between cable and resistance bands, because it does have that springiness, almost like a resistance band feel to it. But it's still a good machine. I mean, if you can get one, especially like nowadays, like, you probably find one on Facebook Marketplace or something like that. If you can get a good deal on it, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, because it gives you a good variety of exercises. I mean, like, you can pretty much do all your major muscle groups and all your major exercises with the Bowflex. The one thing I'm just thinking from a practical point of view, like, in my home gym, I have a power rack with plate loaded cable pulleys, stations, dumbbells, bench. And with that, I mean, I can get in a good workout. So I would personally prefer to have a power rack with cable pulleys and dumbbells and a bench versus a Bowflex. But if I had a Bowflex, I would certainly use it. I mean, and if you can get one for a good deal, I think it'd be great for extra workouts or as a supplement for those days when you can't get to the gym. I mean, I take advantage of my home gym, and I like to have a home gym for that very reason. I mean, most of my gym workouts I do at the public gym because I just like the atmosphere and the variety of the equipment. But for those days when you're extra busy, or if there's a snowstorm and you can't get to the gym or whatever, it's nice to have something at home where you can still get in a little workout, right, without having to commute to the gym. Especially if you want to get in a little mini workout, like we were talking about earlier, like greasing the groove, for example. Like, if there's certain exercises you just want to give some extra attention to, and you're only going to do like maybe a couple exercises, you don't want to necessarily have to drive to the gym just for this little short mini workout. It's nice to have something at home where you can do those. So that's where having a home gym can certainly help. And I always recommend, ideally, have a gym membership and a home gym, or at least some home gym equipment, even if it's just a set of dumbbells and resistance bands or something, so that you're covering all your bases, right? You're stacking the deck in your favor, where yes, you can get to the gym when you have the time and the availability and everything else. Great. Go to the gym, do a proper workout. But if that's not possible, then you have a backup. You got a plan B, right? I can do a home workout instead, and it's still better than nothing. It's still good enough. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that good enough and good enough consistently. So home gyms, whether it's a Bowflex, dumbbells and resistance bands or whatever, or full-on home gym setup, it's certainly worthwhile. Absolutely. Even like nowadays, like, you can get these like Smith machine, functional trainer, home gym setups. I know like several guys in our coaching program have them as well. Even I know Alex is asking this. Ask your brother Andy, right? He's got one as well in his home. It's like a Smith machine functional trainer setup, and he takes advantage of that for home workouts in addition to his gym workouts. Right? It's a great option to have. And again, the analogy I like to use is like stacking the deck in your favor, right? You're stacking it so there's no excuse not to work out. All right, who else we got joining in? We've got Rob Booton. All right. Lee, both my biceps have been sore for the past couple of days. Never been sore this long. same workout volume, a little heavier weight, I usually don't get sore here. Um, Obviously, you must have stimulated something. You went heavier. So obviously, you provided some unique muscle stimulation and you're extra sore. As long as there's no bruising or discoloration, you didn't actually tear the muscles. They're just extra sore. I wouldn't worry about it, but let them rest and recover and don't train them again until they're feeling better. Like it's kind of pointless to go in there and try and stimulate your arms again if they're still feeling sore. What you could do, I mean, just do some light exercises, some very light curls, or even some light presses and rows and stuff like that, just to kind of move your arms and get some blood flow and circulation there. But I wouldn't do anything heavy until that soreness dissipates. Right? Like you could do some active recovery work, but that's normal. Like I find with my workouts, like I rarely get sore unless I do something that's a bit outside the box, if you will, like something that's different. Maybe if I choose an exercise that I haven't done in a while, or I push myself, or I change up the set and rep pattern. Maybe I do extra high reps one day, or I do extra low reps with heavier weight, or just provide some unique muscle stimulation. Sometimes that causes you to get sore that you normally wouldn't feel with your regular workout routine. So it's not abnormal. I mean, everybody's going to get sore from time to time. The main thing is just respect your body, let it rest and recover, and don't push it too hard while you are in that sore phase, because you need to let it rest and recover. That's where the muscle growth actually happens. It doesn't happen when you're in the gym working out. It happens when you're resting and recovering in between those workouts. What else we got there? Do you think nutritional strategies for hypertrophy should differ significantly between natural lifters and enhanced? No. I honestly, there's not a big difference between natural and enhanced, right? I know some people are going to argue with me on this one or whatever, but the basics are the basics regardless. Like you still need to cover your protein intake needs. You still need to eat enough carbs to fuel muscle growth. You still need the rest and recovery. You still need to train in a progressive overload fashion. Like all the basic foundations are the same. The only difference is someone who's enhanced is going to get more from what they're putting in. Like their body is just going to respond a bit better, meaning that their recovery is going to be a bit faster. Their gains are going to be better. It's going to just amplify what they're doing already. But if you don't have the natural foundation, if you will, in terms of the habits and the lifestyle and everything else, even if you start pumping hormones in there, it's not going to build a physique. Like just injecting hormones or taking PEDs or whatever it is, that alone, I mean, yes, you can probably get some water retention and some slight gains just from the hormones themselves, but it's not going to maximize muscle growth or maximize fat burning or whatever. You still need the training, the nutrition, the lifestyle. You still need all that in place. And honestly, there's not a big difference, right? It's just like they're going to get better results from the effort they put in. I'll give you another analogy to kind of make this make sense. One I used in our last podcast, I was talking about cycling. Like one of the things I'm into is like doing cycling races. If you look at a professional cyclist, they are all riding top level super bikes. And what I mean by that, like a professional cyclist is going to be riding a bike that's probably anywhere from 10,000 plus. Like $10,000 would be a cheap bike for a professional cyclist these days, right? They could even be in the 15, 20,000 or whatever, like for a bicycle. I'm not talking about a motorcycle. I'm talking about a bicycle because it's carbon fiber. I mean, it's ultralight and it's all aerodynamic, structured, electronic shifting. I mean, it's got all the bells and whistles and gadgets to make that as efficient and as fast and as the best bicycle you could have. I mean, it's all the engineering technology is into that bike to make it as fast and as efficient as possible. But if you don't have the fitness to ride that bike, then it's useless. Like if I took somebody off the street and said, hey, I'll give you a $10,000 super bike, do you think you'll be able to keep up with the guys in the Tour de France? Like, hell no. If you don't have the baseline fitness, the super bike means nothing. You could take a professional cyclist and give them a $200 Walmart bike, and he could crush the average guy who's on a $10,000 super bike, right? Like the fitness it comes in first. The tools just allow you to maximize the fitness that you have. And the same applies when it comes to PEDs. They are going to enhance what you already have going for you. Like if you don't have the foundation, the training, the lifestyle, the diet, and all this, blah, 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 and then what are you enhancing? It's like giving, Joe Blow a $15,000 bicycle and say, hey, you think you're going to keep up with a professional cycling peloton, right? Because you got the tools, if you will, right? No, right? You need to have the foundation first. The foundation is what's going to make the biggest difference. All the extras is just amplifying the foundation, allowing you to maximize it. All right, where was I? I lost my place in the chat there. What are your thoughts on low volume, high intensity, Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates, 2 to 3 times a week for natural lifters? I'm not a huge fan of that style of training personally because of the risk of injury, I should say. And there's nothing wrong with training 2 to 3 times a week. I mean, in fact, a lot of my coaching students, that's what I recommend, especially for guys in their 40s and beyond. 2 to 3 workouts a week is probably all a lot of people can schedule in. When you got a full-time job, you got a family, and you got responsibilities, and you got all the other things. You're not just a young bachelor who's got all the time in the world and no kids, no responsibilities. For most people, 2 to 3 workouts a week is probably all they can, factor in. I mean, personally, I go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week. Like that's my workout schedule. I mean, I make it work. So there's nothing wrong with that 2 to 3 times a week. But the high intensity training, this whole pushing yourself to failure and beyond, that's where you're walking the razor's edge of, it stimulates muscle growth. Don't get me wrong, it does. And it can work, but you can also pull something, tear something, snap your shit up, if you will. And Dorian Yates is a prime example of that. Like he had to retire from bodybuilding because of all the injuries he's had. I mean, he's screwed up his rotator cuff. He's tore his tricep. He's torn his bicep. I mean, he's had lots of injuries over the years because of this style of training. All right. Ronnie Coleman's another example of someone who's been through the meat grinder and suffering the effects of high intensity balls to the wall training. Like anybody who pushes themselves to the absolute limits usually suffers the injuries. They got the battle scars to show for it. So that's where I'm more conservative. Yes, you want to train in a progressive overload fashion. Yes, you still want to push yourself, but this whole idea of trying to do the ultra low volume and the super high intensity, like I would much rather see someone go in there and do 2 to 3 moderate sets and leave a rep in reserve, not pushing themselves to the absolute red line and beyond, and just getting a little bit more volume to stimulate the muscle versus trying to do it all in a single set to failure and beyond, and then risk pulling or tearing or getting hurt. Right. I always, one of the phrases I use with my coaching students is we want to keep it under red line, right? Like we don't want to keep racing at the red line and above. Because I mean, if you're always like in your car, if you're always driving at the red line, eventually you could blow the motor. Right. So we want to keep it just below red line, right? You're still driving hard, but you're not to the point where you're going to blow the motor, right? Same idea with your body. I mean, you still want to train hard, but keep it under red line, right? I actually made a little video about this the other day talking about it. That's where I draw the line in terms of I don't agree with it. Now, other than that, like the 2 to 3 times a week and all that, that's fine. But this idea of to failure and beyond and really trying to force yourself to lift more, push yourself to that absolute limit. Yes, it does work, but you could also get seriously hurt in the process. And it's just not worth the risk, right? The little potential gain that you get from pushing yourself to the limit, if you get hurt and tear something, then whatever gains you made are going to be like a fart in the wind because your body is, you're going to be set back recovering from an injury. Whereas if you held back a little bit and you're able to train more consistently, you'll make much better gains long term. Let's see what else we got. All right. All right, I think that's it. We're going to clue it up now after that one, guys. That's all the questions that came through there on my end. And it works out good because we've already gone an hour and 10 minutes so far into the video chat. So I'm going to get ready and clue it up. But thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I always enjoy doing our live at 5 Q&A on Fridays. And if there's anything you would like to elaborate on, like if any questions or things that we've talked about here, if you want to elaborate on them, or maybe if you have a question that didn't get answered today, feel free to send me an email, send me a private message through Facebook, and I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you through there, and we can keep that conversation going. And also, just want to let you know that if you haven't already done so, join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. Just do a search for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding. I've got a free Facebook group that you can join, and you can post questions and get feedback about your training through there. And it's a great way to keep that conversation going in between our live video Q&A. So feel free to join us over there on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group. And I will see you next week. Same time. We'll be going live at 5 next Friday. Have yourself a great one. Take care. Over and out.